Welcome back to the Pain Game, and this weekend, Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic go to battle for the undisputed, but very disputed, UFC heavyweight title. And Jon Jones has been doing a bit of media this week, and I'm fucking so pissed off about it. I really dislike this fighter a lot. And it's a shame, because, by the way, when I was, watching UFC way back in the day, long before Jon Jones even showed up, I remember when he first turned up, I seen him, I think it was UFC 100, he might have made his debut around there. And I thought, this kid is talented. And he was so explosive and dynamic in the way he was using his wrestling to throw people around. It was amazing to watch. Unbelievably talented guy. He looked like the Tiger Woods of MMA. He looked like someone who was going to go on to be the greatest of all time. And when that fight was made against Mauricio Shogun Rua, I was one of the few, I remember at the time going, I know Shogun came off the back of a great win against Lyoto Machida, and I was going, nah, this kid is going to bully him. And to be fair, Jon Jones bullied him even worse than I thought he was going to. It was a one-sided beatdown and an unbelievable performance. We knew then the future has arrived. And in that fight, we seen something that was consistent throughout Jon Jones's entire light heavyweight title reign, which was Jon Jones is the size of a heavyweight fighting at light heavyweight, boiled right down to 205. But in reality, he has the frame of a heavyweight. And ultimately, you would have thought he would have started a fight at heavyweight somewhere along the line. For some reason, and I have my suspicions as to why, he took a long time to decide to do that. Even when he fought Daniel Cormier, who had success at heavyweight, he made Daniel Cormier come down to light heavyweight because Daniel Cormier's hands were better at heavyweight. He was a lot harder hitter with that extra weight on him. He always avoided the heavyweights because he always had a massive size advantage to everyone at light heavyweight. And there's an asterisk on his whole entire career at light heavyweight for that reason. And ironically, the ones he did fight at light heavyweight, the Oven St. Proves, the Anthony Smiths, the Dominic Reyes, for God's sakes, they're the ones where you're seeing Gustafsson even. Gustafsson went to war with him. He struggled with guys his own size because, yes, the skills were always there, but they were slightly less enforcing when he didn't have that size advantage and the strength advantage. And to see him now fighting at heavyweight, it's something we've waited years for, to really find out, against guys who can hit hard and are big and strong and powerful like him, how good is he really? And it seems to me like Jon Jones is not wanting to find out. For a start, he beat Cyril Gane, which was a very easy stylistic matchup for him because the guy can't fucking wrestle, and he got the takedown and subbed him out quickly. That is not a reflection on how Jon Jones does against modern heavyweights, because that was the best possible matchup for him. Now he got the title because he avoided Francis Ngannou for 3 fucking years. We're wanting to see him tested, and the man they've put him in there with is Stipe Miocic. Now, I love Stipe, he's had a great career, but the bottom line is, in the last 4 years, the man's had one fight, and he was brutally knocked out. Look at that. I mean, Stipe just got wrecked. And by the way, this entire fight, Francis just bullied Stipe. I mean, it looked like a boy against a man. It was so different from their first fight. Easy work for Francis Ngannou. And let's not forget how Dana White reacted to that.
If I'm Jon Jones and I'm home watching this fight, I start moving to 85.
And Dana was right. Francis Ngannou was a different beast to anything we'd seen Jon Jones do in an octagon before. Jon Jones doesn't beat the fuck out of people in that way. He's a very technically skilled fighter, but he doesn't have no power in them hands compared to people like Francis Ngannou, and especially not Tom Aspinall either. And this was around the period where Jon was flirting with the idea of moving up to heavyweight. He was talking about it. He said he was taking time out to put weight on. Ironically, after year one of that timeout, he was 260 pounds. He was ready to go then. And yet, for whatever reason, he chose to not come back for 3 years. And right around the time he decided to come back was right around the time that Francis Ngannou had left. Make of that what you will, because that version of Francis Ngannou would have been a nightmare stylistic matchup for Jon Jones. I'm not saying Jon couldn't have won, but it would have been a very hard fight, and I can quite imagine him getting knocked the fuck out. So they put the title on Jon Jones, and you're thinking, all right, well, we're finally going to find out how good Jon Jones is. We're going to see him against the best of the best at heavyweight, namely Tom Aspinall. But Jon was insistent that he had to have this fucking quote-unquote bullshit legacy fight against Stipe Miocic, as if that proves anything. We seen Stipe was on the way down in his career when he got destroyed by Francis Ngannou. What meaning does it having a name of an over-the-hill version of a guy who was never on the level of that version of Francis Ngannou, in fact, on your resume? What does that mean? When you could have the king of the moment right now in Tom Aspinall on your CV, that really proves something. And you'll see by the interviews, he seems scared.
You defeat him as you're a 6-1 favorite to win the fight.
6-1 favorite, man. Can you believe that? This is supposed to be the best of the best, by the way. 50-50 fights.
You defeat him, will you defend your belt against Aspinall, who has the interim title?
More than likely not. More than likely not.
Imagine, right? You're a defending heavyweight champion, and your answer to, do you want to fight the #1 guy in the world? More than likely not. Yeah, I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to fight Tom Aspinall either. It's one of the least good things I can imagine in this world. But you know, your job as heavyweight champion is to defend that against the best guys. Have you worked that out?
I feel like Tom Aspinall is, I don't want to say nobody, but he just hasn't proven anything. He hasn't done anything.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Literally, like, if you're going to lie to us and try and make out like, I'm not really scared of him. I just, like, to say he's not done anything. This man has been on a warpath, the likes of which I have never seen in the history of the UFC heavyweight division. We've never seen someone, even Francis, who was fucking unbelievable when he was in his prime, starching people, first round knockout, first round knockout, first round knockout, all the way to the very top of the fucking list of the heavyweights. We've never seen anyone dispatch people with ease like this. To say he's done nothing is the opposite of what Tom Aspinall has done. He looks like the greatest heavyweight we have ever had in the UFC right now. And Jon Jones, in his prime, even when he was fighting blown up fucking middleweights at light heavyweight, even then, when he was at his greatest, was never running through people the way Tom Aspinall is right now. So if he hasn't done anything, then what the fuck have you done, Jon Jones? Eh? You fucking politician bastard. The way he's answering these questions, man. Have some fucking shame. Do you not think the people who are watching you have got a brain on their shoulders? You're insulting the intelligence of fight fans here. This nonsense. One of the greatest talents we've ever seen in the UFC.
He won his belt against Sergey. Sergey just got slaughtered by someone else. So it's just like, I'm not here to gamble someone else making a name off of me.
What the fuck are we talking about? You're the heavyweight champion of the world. Every fight is supposed to be a gamble because you're supposed to be fighting the best. You don't get to just dictate who you fight and say, well, he might actually beat me, so I'm going to fight the easier guy. And the fact that his logic was, yeah, when Tom Aspinall won his belt, the guy who he beat also lost after that. I mean, you're literally picking a fight against Stipe, who's got 1 defeat in 4 years to his name. What the fuck are you talking about? He's not the smartest, is he? Like, I know he's a good fighter, but he's a bit fucking docile, isn't he?
We look back, 10 years from now, it'd be like Jon Jones fought this guy and that guy and this legend and this champion and this champion.
You want legacy? Go and fight Tom Aspinall, who is the now and the future, so that when you're sitting with your feet up, what's in the UFC in fucking 5-10 years, this guy is still going to be smoking people even then. You'll look even better then if you could beat him, but you know you can't. So that's why you're choosing Stipe Miocic, who, all right, you're talking about him being a legend, legacy or whatever. He got knocked out, man. He lost the belt. Yes, he had a solid run at heavyweight, but the reality was he was always very beatable. DC showed that. Francis showed that. You ain't proving anything by beating also not even a prime Stipe. You're beating an old version of Stipe. I can't believe what I heard this week on Ariel Helwani's show. Shout out Ariel. He did a 24-hour shift at the fucking fire station in the last 2 weeks. He's still working. He's not even a full-time fighter. It's just enraging. It's enraging, this. Because I care. I grew up loving the UFC and respecting what they had built. Because Dana always said, we aren't going to be like boxing, man. We're going to make the best fight in the best. And right now, this guy is getting away with Floyd Mayweather shit, and I'm not here for it.
On our UFC roster, that would be not only financially worth it, but legacy worth it, it would be Alex Pereira.
Oh, another middleweight. Okay, another middleweight who moved up to light heavyweight. That's his style, isn't it? Especially when they've got no takedown defense and he's got an easy path to victory. Funny old thing, I can't imagine why you'd rather fight him than 6'5", 260 pounds of raw athletic power in Tom Aspinall. Someone who can absolutely bully you in there. And that's why he doesn't want to take the fight. And do you know what's funny? When this all started coming out, there was a lot of Jon Jones fans having a go at me saying you don't know what you're talking about, because I seen him trying to duck him from early on. And now I hope you can see what your champion, your hero is doing, because this is indefensible. This, you've got no argument. Your boy is ducking in the most open and honest, obvious way, in the most humiliating way I've ever seen a champion duck anyone. This is the fucking UFC, man. The standard is shocking from him.
And I think that fight would go much farther on my legacy than a young man who's cool today and maybe gone tomorrow.
Bro, honestly, you've literally... Pereira came out of nowhere in the last few years and has had a good run in the UFC. He's the cool today guy who may be gone tomorrow because he's getting on a bit. Tom Aspinall is here now and the future. He is going to be here reigning as a champion. Your argument doesn't work for this.
Remember a time when the whole world thought Johnny Walker was going to be the guy to beat me.
I'm not even listening to this nonsense. You're comparing Tom Aspinall, one of the greatest talents to ever grace the octagon, to Johnny fucking Walker. Shut the fuck up, mate, honestly. You know when someone's not even saying things that are even remotely believable anymore. If someone isn't even entertaining the truth, they're not worth listening to. This man is a gaslighting twat. And that's the nicest thing I've ever called him, right? From some of his previous things that he's been up to. But we'll keep this on fighting today.
Aspinall to me is no difference than an Owen St. Prude or Dominic Reyes or Anthony Smith, like just another up-and-comer that's exciting right now.
With it. Okay. Owen St. Prude, you went to a decision with him, by the way. You couldn't stop him. Anthony Smith, a very average fighter, no disrespect, nice guy. You went to a decision with him. You couldn't stop him. Dominic Reyes, he beat you. And I said that at the time. He won 3 rounds to 2. You got the nod. You were very fucking lucky to get that decision. And you know what's funny? We'll put the video. You watch Dominic Reyes in that fight. Dominic Reyes here, as you can see, same size as Jon Jones. The size advantage that he had his whole fucking career at light heavyweight was reduced in this fight. And you don't have that easy competitive edge over his competition that he always used to have at that weight. And look, Dominic Reyes was a fucking nobody. So why did you take that fight? Because you thought it was easy pickings. You see in this fight, right? Dominic Reyes is not a great fighter. He lands repeatedly on Jon Jones and outstruck him 3 rounds to 2, right? If Tom Aspinall lands on you like this kid did, which he would, by the way, and a lot easier and a lot faster and a lot harder, he's shutting your shit down, mate. He's shutting the lights out. The joke, man. The fact that this fight was so competitive, and it's funny, look at him running away. And you're telling me Jon Jones could fuck with Tom Aspinall after that. That was his second last fight, man. Let's not act like that was a different version of Jon Jones. He's slower than he was then. Tom's greased lightning, and he would catch him quick time and put the lights out. And I bet anything on that. And apparently Jon's actually said he's willing to drop the belt in order to avoid Tom.
So would you care if a title was on the line against Lex Pereira? You'd be happy with it being a feature fight?
It'd be cool to fight over the heavyweight championship, but I would also willingly give up the heavyweight championship. I walked away from the light heavyweight championship, and I'd love to walk away from this one as well, on top, on his own terms, good head and shoulder, making lots of money. I love the position that I'm in right now. Fighting Pereira for the BAMF belt, that'd be cool. We both have...
I'm sorry. What is the BMF belt, though? It's about any time, anywhere, any place. Jon Jones has repeatedly proven he is not that guy. I'm not saying he's not a great fighter. He's a very skilled fighter. But you're literally bottling it against Tom Aspinall. How the fuck can you qualify as a bad motherfucker? Let's not forget, when he was supposed to be fighting Dan Henderson, another blown-up middleweight that had to pull out, he was replaced at the last second with an offer to fight Chael Sonnen, another blown-up middleweight who was severely undersized against Jon Jones. Did he take that at the last second, even though he'd had a full training camp, or did he bottle it because he wasn't prepared? He bottled it, and that's the only UFC event that's been cancelled to date, all because Jon Jones didn't have the cojones to get in there with Chael Sonnen. And that's the same Chael Sonnen who, when he finally did fight Jon Jones, was dominated by him. So he could have fucking fought him. And Chael said, the minute we locked up, I knew you're on the gear because I am too, and you're severely stronger than me. And he knew. And then he tested positive not long after that. Jon Jones's legacy is very much in question. And it's funny because he talks about legacy a lot, but what legacy we're often left with as fighters, unfortunately, it's not fair, but the lasting legacy is often the last memory you have of them. And the last memory we're going to have of the great Jon Jones, the monster of the division, the light heavyweight division that is him avoiding Tom Aspinall, running away, making all these excuses like a coward. And that is the worst last impression you can ever leave on the fight fans. And we're always going to say, every time you ran away from Tom Aspinall and made every excuse in the book. It's pathetic, man. And the validity of that title is seriously in question. You can't tell me this is an undisputed title fight. It's the furthest thing from it. And I gotta say, it would be fucking hilarious if Stipe just clipped him and knocked the shit out of him. I really need the fight gods to come good this weekend, because Mike Tyson and Stipe Miocic should not be in these fights as underdogs like this. This shouldn't be happening. We need a miracle. Desperately. Stipe Miocic is 6-1 underdog. And he was walking with a limp not long ago. He looked like he needed a hip replacement and a fucking cane just to walk. And yet we got him fighting Jon Jones because Jon Jones needs a legend on his resume. The hell is going on, man? So if Stipe by some miracle just lands a big shot, I'll be the happiest. I'll be jumping up and down because I would love him avoiding true competition to blow the fuck up right in his face when a guy who in his mind should never get a win over him gets a win over him as well. But I don't see it happening. I really can't see it happening. Stipe in his prime wasn't great at any one thing. He had decent power, but he was very well-rounded, and he had a good all-round game. I do believe that. Jon's only weakness for me was his hands. I didn't really ever rate his hands. I thought defensively they were okay, but you know, very little power, very little speed. They were just good enough to do the job, while the rest of his game was world class. He used every outlet of MMA, and credit to him. Do that against Tom then, but you don't want to. And in the event Jon does win, retires or whatever, I don't give a shit, right? I just want him stripped of the belt. If you don't want to fight Tom next, you've got to be stripped because he is the #1 guy in the world. And I've had enough of this shit. And to my point about Jon Jones's hands not being great, for those who disagree, he has him hitting pads right now. What you're seeing there is a slow as fuck heavyweight hit pads. Pads aren't real fighting, but the bottom line is he looks like shit, right? His hands are crap. And that's why he wants to avoid Tom Aspinall, because the disparity between their hands is massive. And Tom's a big and strong enough guy to keep it on the feet. He's fucked if they fight. And he knows it because he's one of the slowest punchers at the heavyweight division, in my opinion. Not even just saying that. And Tom is the fastest by a mile. It's a bad matchup for him. Even I can do pads quicker than that. By a mile. Not even hard. And look, that doesn't mean anything, but you get the point in regards to the hand speed is a huge weakness for Jon. And Tom has actually responded. We'll see what he's got to say.
It's not my fight week, really, unless they call on me last minute, which I think the whole world knows at this point that it's pretty unrealistic, me thinking.
I forgot about this, right? But Tom's actually being flown out there to be the backup fighter. He's the best in the world. And no matter what Jon wants to say about him, this lad might even be more talented than what Jon was when he came into the UFC. In fact, he is, because he's doing things Jon couldn't do. This might be the most talented fighter I've ever seen come into MMA. And at heavyweight, forget it. There's no one doing anything like he's been doing ever in the UFC. To have him as a backup fighter, as if Jon Jones is going to fight him at the last second if Stipe pulls out. Do me a favour. Jon Jones bottled it last minute against Chael fucking Sonnen. He's not fighting that animal in the last second, is he? What a waste of time. I hope he's getting paid for it, though.
Jon Jones is avoiding the other champion, me. And he's chose to fight a 42-year-old Stipe, who's had a fantastic career. Both guys have had a fantastic career. Great legacy. But let's be honest, these are two old farts fighting each other.
It's literally like when Hulk Hogan gets brought back to the WWE and everyone makes believe like he's the best in the world again. We know this ain't the WWE. What the fuck is this?
This is a great Legends matchup. This is a great resume matchup. This is a great potential retirement fight for one, if not both of these guys.
Yeah.
But why is that for the heavyweight title when you've got active heavyweights who are taking out contenders like me? It's a little bit strange, and I don't think that anybody really gives a shit about seeing this.
Bang on, son. Bang on. The reality of the matter is, there's only one man behaving like a heavyweight champion right now, and that's Tom Aspinall, defending it against all comers.
Tom Aspinall's a nobody. Well, mate, I'm a nobody who has a #1 ranking and has finished 5 of the top 10 guys in the first round.
So what the fuck are you talking about, Jon Jones, you bullshitting bastard? What the fuck are you talking about? When it comes to Jon Jones, look, I've always thought he was a bit of a rotten individual because of the way he conducted himself outside of the octagon, right? He's clearly a bully of a man. For Jon Jones's legacy, one thing that also leaves a lasting impression is how you made people feel. And for some MMA fans, they don't give a shit about the stuff that he did outside of the octagon. I do, personally. The fact that he injured a fucking pregnant woman in a hit and run. He's had consistent issues. Not long ago, his own children had to ring the police on him because he'd left their mother bloodied. Right? That matters to me. You're a piece of shit if you do stuff like that. But for a lot of fight fans, they don't mind. I don't know why. It's a crazy fucking sport we love. But now, that that person that Jon Jones is, that snide little bastard that he can be, where he's a bit of a bully, is now coming out inside the octagon because he's refusing to fight fair fights now. And that's his lasting legacy for me. Was he a very skilled fighter? Absolutely. But as a person, I think we can tell what kind of person he is by the way he's carrying himself now. And I just hope that these MMA fans wake the fuck up to it and don't keep sucking him off because of fights he had fucking 10 years ago. Look at him lately. He's got one win at heavyweight compared to Tom Aspinall's entire catalogue of amazing wins, and even his last few wins at fucking light heavyweight were fucking debatable and trash to watch. So I don't know why people are allowing this nonsense from him. Call it out for what it is. Jon Jones is scared of Tom Aspinall. End of story. You want to prove me wrong, John? Get in the fucking cage. Show us. Show us. Anyway, that's all I've got time for today. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe, and let's all fucking pray that Mike Tyson and Stipe pull off the upsets this weekend. See you later.